process of reasoning from one or more statements to reach a logical conclusion. That's according to her. How about, nabi nag-raise og hand? So we have two answers already. We have a process of reasoning from one statement to another. We have to specify that these statements have names, the major premise, the general statement, followed by the minor premise. It must be related to your major premise, and this is the specific one. Then after that, you will reach into a conclusion, a logical conclusion as mentioned by Ms. Madrigal. So tama itong gisulti ganina ni Mr. Polinar. It's from general to specific or from the whole to the part. We're going to get an example out of that. And we have here an example from Ms. Namok. All humans are mortal. Jose Rizal is a man. Therefore, Jose Rizal is mortal. So what do you call this line of reasoning? Nato'y terminology. What was the language?
Syllogism, sir.
Very good, Mr. Casio. Syllogism. So that's part of the things that we have learned last time. So generally, aside from the syllogism, we also learned last time that there are valid syllogisms, valid arguments. And when can we say that the argument is valid again? Just to refresh our discussion last time. When can we say that the syllogism or the argument is valid? Nag-identify ba tag validity last time? Diba? And that will be part also of the activities na ihatag nato sa examination, identifying the validity of the argument. So kanus-an nato masulti nga valid ang argument. That was discussed last time, kung na-remember ninyo.
Asa naman na fit?
Aside from the examples given here, kaning all cars have four wheels, we have blank blank is a car, therefore that is four wheels. So katong mga examples gihatag, unsay naa didto nga characteristics sa ilaha nga masulti nato nga valid sila. When the conclusion follows logically from the major and the minor premises. Thank you so much, Ms. Namok. So kung inato ang iyahang pattern, you look at the pattern, ang format. Mo man jud siya ang tan-awon nato, the pattern or the format of the statement. So dapat ang first line should always be general statement. Dapat makakita ka og kanang all or every or something nga makahatag sa imong idea that this is indeed a general statement. Then the second one, dapat makuha nimo ang pattern nga ang subject sa imong major premise, just like kaning examples na makita ninyo sa imong chat box. Ang second line is nagkuha siya single example gikan dito sa imong major premise. And then ang conclusion will be taken from the combination of the major and the minor premise. So ang subject ug ang predicate niya karon gikuha from the major and the minor premise. So kung na-follow niya ang pattern, walay problema, then it is valid. From Jade, when it has major and minor premise, then goes to the conclusion according to her. And we have here the pattern as well. P, then Q, then X is P, then X is Q. Very good. So nag-take note yun si Ms. Delalamon about our lesson last time. So generally, kung makabasa mong libro sa logic, mo ni siya ang ginahatag ng pattern nila. Kaning type karon ni Ms. Delalamon. Thank you so much for sharing this. That was part of our presentation last time. Aside from that, we also discussed last time nga, yes, valid, na yung mga valid ng mga syllogisms, but not all of them are true. Diba? So my next question is, when can we say that the argument is true? And when is it untrue? Anyone? Kung ma-recall ninyo ang ato ang gipang istoryahan before, di ba naman to yung mga argument nga valid siya, pero ang iyahang truth value is dili, tinuod. I mean, dili siya true. So kanus ato siya nga instances. Yes, Shelo, you are Acknowledge siya, Lo.
Um, it can be proven truthful if the statements are factual or can be seen in real life po.
Yes, that's a good answer. Or in other words, you have the reference or source of your information. Because if you can still recall last time, di ba natoy katong discriminating nga gihatag nga example? It talked
Yes
about
po.
mga Asians or mga Africans. So kung naay mga inana nga mga statements nga pwede gani siya i-argue or pwede na imusulti nga this is not true. So subject na siya for debate. So that is now the time for us to ask about the truth value of the argument. That's still part of math, ha? Part na siya sa logic. That's another branch of mathematics. According to Mr. Audensha, factual dapat daw ang information to be true. So that's a good answer. So we are already done with the deductive reasoning. We will now proceed to inductive reasoning. So since na-define na nato ang deductive reasoning from general to specific, so obviously we already know that inductive reasoning is the other way, from specific siya to general. So just like also sa deductive nga iput nato siya in the context of teaching, naapod tayo ginatawag nga inductive method of teaching. Kanang magsugod kay ka sa mga examples, ginagmay nga mga examples, and then afterwards, mo come up ka or i-close nimo ang imuhang lecture or discussion with a general statement. That is inductive method ang tawag ana. In the context of reasoning, the same gihapon siya, mag-start ka sa specific statement, and then mag-end ka sa general rule or statement. So this is now the definition. As you can see, it involves going from a series of specific cases. So dapat daghan kag specific cases nga na-identify ani before you can arrive into your general statement. So ang general statement nimo karon ang nahimong conclusion. Vis-a-vis kato ganina sa deductive reasoning, ang imuhang specific statement ang gihimo nimo nga conclusion. So the conclusion, there is another information here. Under the inductive reasoning, the conclusion is an inductive argument. In an inductive argument is never guaranteed. So that is the general truth in logic. So kung naa daw kay mga nakuha ng mga information and then mo come up ka into your general conclusion, it's never guaranteed all the time. So sa math, here is an example of practicing inductive reasoning. So what do you think is the next number in this sequence? Bidaw, kinsa ang pwede makasulti kung unsa ang next number, ikalima nga term ani 6, 13, 20, 27. What's the next one? Miss Ramos. Yes, what is your answer?
34, sir.
Okay. How did you get your answer? There is an explanation about giunsa niyong pagkuha sa mong answer will reveal to us kung nagamit ba niya ang inductive reasoning. Miss Ramos, giunsa niyong pagkuha ang answer nga 34. And actually, you are supported by your classmates kay diri sa chat box nato. All the answers so far nga gihatag is 34.
Ano, sir? Plus 7 siya, sir. Kay,
So how did you know nga mag-plus ka og 7?
kay 6, ano man, sir? From 6 to 13, kay gi-count ako siya, sir, ba if pila siya, ganun naabot siya 13, then pag-count ako is 7 man siya,
7.
so gi-plus na ko ang 13 plus 7, so ang answer is 20, 20 plus 7, so 27, and 27 plus 7 is 34.
Very
Yan
good.
ako.
Thank you so much, Miss Ramos. So nakita ninyo dito nga nag-practice siya inductive reasoning. Just like you, katong mga nag-answer. Di ba nagkuha mo specific case? Ang specific case nga gi-mention ganina niya is i-observe niya ang difference between 13 and 6. Giunsa daw pag-abot sa 13 gikan sa 6. That is a specific case. So nag-add ka og 7. And then from 13 to 20, another pair. So another specific case na pud imong gikuha. So 7 gihapon. So karon nakakita na ka og pattern based imong specific cases, you can now make a general statement that this pattern will continue if you will add 7. Nagets ninyo?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That is inductive reasoning. That is just a simple example of inductive reasoning in math. So, this is the explanation. I think gihatag na ni siya sa Quipper sa ato ang course. Na ni siya dito. The explanation can be read in your Quipper account. Induction does not have a distinct form. So please take note, basig ang uban naghulat unsay mga format ani kung naay syllogism sa deductive reasoning, do we have a format for induction? To tell you honestly, wala siya form. You can actually make your own form, free flow ni siya, as long as there is the presence of specifics, examples, or particulars, then gihimo nimo siya og general statement. So kung nain ato nga characteristics ang imuhang statement, then that is already induction or inductive reasoning. So as a result, its conclusions are less definitive than those of valid and true syllogisms. The question right now is, necessary ba ang induction? Induction is necessary in argumentation, though, because very little may be absolutely narrowed to a syllogism. So naga pa nagagamit ani nga mga argumentation, pero mas ginagamit sa argumentation ang katong syllogism nga form. So kung wala siya pattern, what are the possible examples that can we make out of induction? So we can actually, before we make examples, we can look back into the different steps. Mura siya og scientific gani nga activity. Before ka maghimog conclusion, unsa imuhang dapat hipmuon para masulti nga imong conclusion is valid. So here are the steps. Are you familiar with hypothesis? I think familiar tatanan ani, di ba? Kaya na tayo mga research nga experiences before. So this is very important when you're making induction. First, usually comes a question to be answered, or especially in scientific work, a tentative answer to such a question is called hypothesis. So you can actually hypothesize. You can make your own guess kung unsa ni siya, nganong inani ang nahitabo. That will be the first part. Second one is you gather all the evidence that you can find that is relevant to support also your answer ato imuhang gihimo nga guess. So unsa ang pwede nako mag-gather ng mga evidence that may be important to finding the answer. So nakita ba ninyo nga connected siya sa scientific method?
Yes po.
Okay, thank you for your response. I would like to check kay basig na trauma ko atong last time nung asikog istorya tapos wala nakadungog di ay nawa na di ang audio. So please ano lang sa chat box ha kung okay pa ba or madunggan pa ba ko or dili na. So that's the second part. After making hypothesis, pwede na ka maghimo og mag-gather na ka mga evidence nimo to prove or to unprove your hypothesis kay para makakuha na ka og mga answers. The third one, you draw a conclusion, also known as inference, that answers the question and takes the evidence into account. So pag humani mo gather sa mga evidence, then that is now the time katong mga pieces of evidences nga imo nakuha, himuon na nimo siya og something whole, kato naman siya ang mga specifics. So that is now the time that you can answer the question, your problem, and make your conclusion. So that is the simple three-step rule in doing induction. Nagets ninyo? So kung iputang nato siya sa inyong real life situation before we proceed to the example, are you applying inductive reasoning in your daily life? Kusog ang ulan daw according to Mr. Anting. So I hope wala pa na guba or na nihinay ang mga connections nato. So kisa dere, anyone, inductive reasoning, induction, application sa real life situations. Was there a time nga gamit mo og inductive reasoning? Madunggan pa ba ko?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Yes, Miss Batukan. Inductive reasoning na nakahimo na kaginato nga instance sa katong sa steps na gi-follow nato for induction.
Yes po.
Can you give us or share to us unsa to siya nga instance?
Um, Kuan sir, sa 'di ba sa first step is naghimo kag hypothesis, somehow
Mm.
napoy panghitabo or situation sa life na matingala na lang ka nga nganong nabutang ka ni na situation mo
Mm.
to
Tapos giunsa nimo?
moto tapos give detail by detail nimo kung nganong nahitabo to siya motong sa second step na nag-gather ka og evidence nganong ni-come up ka ato na situation dito sa step number 1 and then the third one is maghimo ka og inference or the conclusion nga ay bantog ra dahil nga ni-come up ko ato nga situation because of this that anak po.
Wow, that's a good example. Even though wala nag-specify ni Miss Batukan unsa dito siya, pero ang steps na follow niya in her personal encounter. So siguro ihatag nato sa iya ang iyang privacy. But thank you so much for your for sharing your experience.
Yes po.
So this is a one maybe one of the examples nga pwede nato magamit. This is an example, how did that living room window break? So ibutang ninyo yung kaugalingon diri sa atuang situation nga pag abot niyo sa inyong balay, ala ka nabuak ang inyong window. So daghan man ka mahimo ana nga mga kuano mga hypothesis, mga presumption or unsa may nahitabuan ni pwede ka maghimo og imuhang mga sariling version of story. Pero dili pa na nimo siya ma-prove nga tama siya kung wala pa ka na-gather og mga evidence. So sa example nato, here are some of the pieces of evidence. Number one, there is a baseball on the living floor room. Second one, the baseball was not there this morning. Pag-abot nimo hapon na siguro pag-abot nimo. Then the third one, some children were playing baseball this afternoon. The fourth one, they were playing in the vacant lot across from the window. So naay bakante nga lote, nag-face siya sa window katong nabuak. And then they stopped katong mga nagdula. So kato siya nga area, pwede to siya dulaan og baseball. The next one is they stopped playing a little while ago. Then the last one is they are not in the vacant lot now. So if you are in this situation, ikaw to mismo ang nakagather sa evidence, what will be your possible conclusion to this? How did that living room window break? There is a specific linkage of possible reasons. That's the words from Miss Namok. So at least makasulti ko nga wala pa nawala ang audio kay naapay nag-interact. Bidaw, kung sa inyo hato nahitabo, Joshua Larigo, unsa imong pwede conclusion ani?
Sa sir.
Kaning ato ang example karon. Katong nabuak ang window ninyo, tapos mo auto imong na-gather nga evidence. Unsa imong possible conclusion kay we are already na-check na ta sa step 1, di ba? Nga siguro na nakay imo ang mga hypothesis. Step 2, na-gather na kag mga evidence. Step 3 na ta, conclusion. Unsa yung possible conclusion ani?
Some children were playing.
Mm. Yung nagdula og baseball sa gawas sa inyong balay na may bakante nga lote dito. Unsay possible ani?
Ako ang unsa gyud ang conclusion sir? Sorry sir.
Conclusion is already a conclusion is a word that we are looking for. We are looking for conclusion right now. So unsa pa gusto nimo i-ano sa conclusion? Okay, so acknowledge yung mga nagsulti nga kusudo kay ang ulan. So kapit lang ta, hold on. As long as wala pa nawala internet, laban lang jud. Hashtag laban lang jud ang ato ang promote karon. So unsa kay pwede conclusion? So while naga-think pa si Joshua, I would like to acknowledge the answer of Miss Delalamon. The conclusion there, sir, is maybe the one that breaks the window is the one who's playing the baseball. You have a good conclusion, Miss Delalamon. From Casio, maybe na home run answer, then na home run jud siya literally. Nagdagan sila pauli maong wala na yung mga bata. So naigo gihapon ang bintana. So you have the same answer from Shello. The children must have accidentally hit the window with the baseball when they were playing earlier. Very good. So the point here is you can actually make conclusion based on the evidence that you have gathered. And if that is the case, you are already applying inductive reasoning. So Joshua, do you agree with their answers? Or do you have your own unique answer nga nung nabuak ang window?
Unsa sir, ang pagbunal sa katip tang baseball bat sir kay wala niya naigo ang ball so pag strike sa baseball bat kay wala naigo so ang bola sir ni direct og igo dito sa window.
Pwede. So at least, di ba, you cannot actually make kato siya ang mga statements kung wala niyo base diri sa atuang evidence. So that is already applying induction. So the conclusion, one of the children hit or threw the ball through the window. They all ran away. So that is a good example of inductive reasoning from specific to general statement. As kabaliktaran sa deductive, you will start from general, then you will get examples or specific. So here are the other examples of inductive reasoning. Let's try to check if you are still here. I would like to call someone to read our first example. First example, are you here? Miss Caballero.
Yes po, sir. Examples of inductive reasoning. For the past 10 years, Jenny observed that her father gave her a bouquet of flowers during her birthday. Tomorrow will be her 18th birthday. She predicts that she will receive another bouquet of flowers.
Do you agree that this is a form of inductive reasoning? Miss Caballero?
Wait lang siya.
Sige. Ato siyang himay-himayon ha kay para kay sa examination ba nato mga inaani ba ang ipanghatag tanan mga statements, group of statements, tapos identify nato kung inductive ba siya or deductive. So it's very essential nga kabalo jud ta mo tan-aw kung unsaon pag kabalo nga inductive ba siya or deductive. So unsa nga statement diri ang makasulti ka nga mao ni siya ang conclusion nga gihimo niya.
Ang kuan sir kay kun murag like
Mm-mm.
i-predict kanang pag-predict
Oo.
niya nga tagaan siya bouquet sa iyang father kay sa past 10 years kay ginatagaan man siya sa iyang father kada birthday.
Very good. So nakita ninyo ang inductive reasoning dito. Naa siya mga experiences, mo to siya ang mga specifics niya. So naa siya bouquet every birthday niya during her birthday na siya bouquet. So those are the instances, mga single instances daghan na kaayo siya. Then pwede na siya maghimog conclusion karon nga sa next birthday nako makadawat na po kog flower. So that is the general statement. So from specific to general, that is why this is part of the inductive reasoning. Are we clear about this example? We have
Yes po.
a conversation actually here sa hawa ko kabalo nga naay mga questions dire. Naay question pero it was already answered by Shello. There could be other factors that were missed. Maong plausible conclusion, mapasanginlan. Okay. So you are trying to elaborate the situation about katong breaking the window. So pwede naman nato siya i-end ang discussion dito. The only point that we have right now is na-define na nato ang inductive reasoning. Pero if we are going to dig deeper the situation, then we can actually do something nga magpasangil ta or wala. So actually kung inaato yun ang hitabo in real life situation, then pwede man ka mag-file og case, di ba? Or you can actually go to your nearest purok leader kay para ma-solve ang kaso. Dili na mo gawas ang ilahang
Pa-blatter na, sir.
Oo, mo apply na ka sa ilahang mga rules and regulations, then investigation will start na. So para ma-avoid ang mga katong illegal nga mag-ano ka accuse, then mo follow na ta sa law. That is to answer or to satisfy the question of Mr. Castro. And again, we will not dig deeper to that because that is just an example. Okay na? I hope you are
Yes,
okay
sir.
about that. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir.
Second example, I would like another student to read this one. Do you have a microphone, Miss Delalamon?
Yes, sir.
Okay, kindly read our second example and let's try to see anong inductive reasoning ni siya.
Example of inductive reasoning. My father was loud when he was angry. I think all fathers are loud when they are angry.
So ngano na inductive reasoning man ni siya para sa imuha based on your understanding. Aha dapit diri ang specific and aha dapit diri ang general statement.
I think, sir, um, based on her experience, sir,
Mm,
based on that experience, sir, na makita niya na iyang father is loud when he was angry, maong naghatag siya og kanang conclusion na ang nasa utok
mm.
yung natanan father is loud kung masuko.
Very good. So ang specific ato is iyahang father, di ba? Muna na siyang specific example niya. Pero gi-generalize dayon niya, di ba? So ang general statement niya nga all fathers are loud when they are angry. So nakita ninyo, did it happen to you also nga naa mo'y gihimo nga inductive reasoning nga naay single instance or case or scenario nga nahitabo sa inyong life and then gi-generalize dayon ninyo kinsa ang naay mo
Yes, sir.
share ana, di ba? Usually naay
Yes,
mga
sir.
inaana ang mahitabo. For example, kanang
Yes, sir.
na
After.
heartbreak, 'di ba? Na heartbreak tapos pag kahuman ato kay gi-generalize dayon niya ay tanan mga lalaki or ay, tanan babae na ato. You're actually applying inductive reasoning. Pero kung ibalik nato sa previous slide, 'di ba? This is not always guaranteed. So I can see na yung mga trust issues, kani tanan babae daw kay atikon or about trusting people. So things like that, i-generalize dayon nila. So actually, nag-a-apply gahapon sila og reasoning ana. Pero that kind of reasoning is inductive reasoning. And that is the reason why it is never always guaranteed kung kani mo ginahimo nga type of reasoning. Another one, the first two kids I met at my new school were nice to me. So kanina siya example ani, specific ko ani siya, case. Tapos, gihimuan din niya o general statement, therefore, the students at this school are really nice. So that is why this is an example of inductive reasoning. Another one, Marie loves to color. She loves to draw. She makes great designs. So these are the examples, the specifics. Marie will become an artist. So based on those statements, nakahimo din siya conclusion nga kani siya mahimo siyang artist. So familiar, di ba? O sahay makahimo tag ani nga mga statements in real life nga nakay nakita, nakay na-observe wala nagkuan siya nagkuan kani siya kay kuan ni siya nga tao. So sometimes our judgment is following this kind of reasoning, inductive reasoning. Another one is, do we have another example pa after this? I think that's the last one. So again, deductive reasoning is from general to specific. Inductive reasoning is from specific to general. So before we proceed to our exercises, we will have a short exercise to check kung nakasabot na ba jud mo sa inductive and deductive reasoning. Would like to raise questions about our lesson. So na yung mga nagbutang diri mga atikon ng mga lalaki, bias judgment. So that's part of inductive reasoning. So thank you so much for your response, Miss Namok. Clear na daw. So siguro sa behalf sa klase, I will take that as your answer. So let's try to check. This will be recitation. You just raise your hand if you want to answer. Pero don't forget ha, katong mga na ay gusto maghatag og examples about either deductive ba siya or inductive reasoning, you could just post your answers sa Quiper messages. I have read some of the answers. I would like to mention katong answers ni Albarico, Batino, Sonodan, and Dalalamon. nag-respond ako ganinang morning sa inyong gipanghatag nga answers. Thank you so much for your participation. So let's try to check. This is just a review about our lesson. Identify if the reasoning is deductive or inductive. Let's have the first one. Who would like to answer that?
Sir. Sir.
Yes, you are recognized katong first nga nag-on sa microphone. Si Umasdang ba to?
Sir, nag-raise lang ko sir pero go.
Ay, sige, go. Mr. Umasdang. Umasdang?
Yes sir.
What is your answer? Is it
Basta sir,
inductive or deductive?
sir.
Again, that is
Inductive.
why inductive?
Kaya alam siya sir, sa first na statement siya kay all the students go to school. Then ako daw estudyante ko, so tanan daw estudyante kay
Then you naman ang conclusion, you go to school.
ay deductive di ay sir.
Okay, so let's try to to reconcile what should be the correct answer about this. What is your final answer? Inductive or deductive?
Deductive sir.
Deductive. Okay, to check your answer, we'll go back to the statement. All students go to school. You are a student, therefore you go to school. So nag-start ba siya sa general statement or specific?
General po.
General, di ba, kay all students. And then, nag-specify dayon siya og ikaw mismo, you are a student. Then the conclusion is you go to school. So, the conclusion is actually a specific statement. From general to specific, this is deductive. So, thank you for those who answered. Nasa mga sa chat box na ka nag-deductive. And also Mr. Amasdang. Second example, would like to answer. Ms. Namok. Ms. Namok, okay pa ang connection ninyo diha? Inductive. So, inductive. Very good. How about si Batukan? Do you have the same answer? You also raised your hand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It is because the first statement, actually, ano lang niya siya, murag, himo lang niyang compound ang iyang sentence, nagkama lang siya, and then afterwards, nag-conclude ayon siya. So, kaning first part nga, it rained every New Year's Day. For the past 4 years, these are the specifics. Tapos, naka-conclude ayon siya, it will rain on the New Year's Day next year. So, that is inductive reasoning. Very good. So, I think you are learning. The third one, would like to answer this. Yes, Joshua, nag-predict siya. Inductive from specific to general. So, yeah, very good. Since natawag na ako si Kay ganina, how about si Mr. Polinar na pod karon?
Ano po, sir? Deductive po.
Deductive. Why?
Because the child, ano po, sir, from
Deductive mo answer, di ba? Deductive. So go. Sige daw. You defend your answer. Why deductive reasoning? That a child examines 10 roses in the garden, all of which are red, and concludes that all roses must be red. Harapit dito ang iyahang nagpahimo sa iyahang nga deductive. Kay deductive ba imong answer? Nag-start ba siya sa general statement?
No sir, mali ka sir, sorry.
Okay. That's
Ano
good,
pala
di ba?
sa
It's
inductive
really good
pala,
nga you can realize, di ba? Okay, karon gi-change na to. Nganong inductive na siya, Mr. Polinar? And your answer now is correct.
Because sir kay ang first state nabatay sequence po sir.
Mm-mm.
And sa first statement po sir is dili man siya general po sir.
So actually kaning 10 roses nga gipang observe ang mga colors specifics ni siya. And then, nag-conclude din siya nga, the roses must be red. All roses must be red. So, ang last part, ang conclusion, all roses must be red. And this is a general statement. So, specific to general. It's inductive. So, thank you so much. Kato nag-answer correctly. Congratulations. Let's have number 4. Anyone? You can raise your hand. Yes, Mr. Casio.
Deductive po, sir.
Why?
Kuha niyo siya, sir. If all isosceles triangles po, sir, nagamit na siya og all, sir, then sa second part is then an equilateral triangle is also an isosceles, sir. Which is ang isosceles, sir, sa first line, sir, sa pinakataas, na una siya, sir, which is ang sa last
Mm-mm.
part, sir, sa conclusion, gibutang na siya sa last.
Wow. So, I think nakita ni Mr. Casio ang pattern, no? Katong sentence pattern about deductive reasoning. So, that's a very good observation, Mr. Casio. Thank you so much. And aside from that, dimension po dyan niya nga nakita siya word nga all, and that is already a clue that the statement is general. Very good. So, kabalo na mo kilatis sa statement. So, that is a general statement. If all isosceles triangles have at least two congruent sides, then this is now the specific. Nagkuha siya isa ka kind of triangle, equilateral triangle. So, sa equilateral triangle, di lang kay duha, kundi tulo ang equal. So, since at least man ang gisulti diri sa first statement, it means 2 or more. So, nakahimo siya og conclusion na this kind of triangle, equilateral triangle, is also an isosceles triangle. Actually, you can read that one as isosceles, even though it's spelled as letter E. But your answer is correct. So I'm glad that you are learning. How about sa chat box? Tama ba ang mga answers ninyo? So there is a mixed answer, but the correct answer was already given by Mr. Casio. Again, this is from general to specific, so deductive. We still have number 5. Anyone? For number 5, yes. Nag-raise og hand si K. Go ahead, K.
Inductive po.
Okay, can you explain to us why?
Because John earned a perfect score on his first 6 math tests. So he concludes that he will always obtain a perfect score on math tests. So nagsugod siya po sa iyang hypothesis, which is ang kaning sa iyang
Perminti
first
siya
6
o
perminti siya perfect, and then
sa 6 ka test.
sa sunod is kanang since mao to iyang gihimo nga rason, so nag-conclude siya na ang musunuray pa na math test niya is ma-perfect niya.
Very good. So that is an example of inductive reasoning. So di ba makita ninyo nga naadyoy pagka-judgmental o pagka-bias sa inductive, di ba? Kaya pwede nimo siya, ay, murag manganad gani ka. So that is one form of reasoning actually. Thank you so much, Ms. Batukan. And for those who answered inductive, your answer is correct. Let's have the 6th one. If x is equal to 5, common ni siya sa math. If x is equal to 5, then 2x is equal to 10. Kani, unsa kaya ni siya, deductive or inductive? Bisag ani nga ka-simple nga statement, pwede na ni siya himuon siya nga example of reasoning. It's always K nga naga-raise og hand. How about the others? I would like to give chance to others. Pero kung wala, I will acknowledge K. Go ahead, K.
Inductive.
Naay nag-answer og instructive. I think spelling is wala pa na-imbento nga inductive, siguro pasabot ni Casio. Miss K Batukan?
Yes po.
Yes, you are acknowledged kay wala lain nag-raise og hand.
Actually, nag-raise po si Casio og hand. Pero if you will
Pero
allow
ikaw
po.
ang nauna, ikaw ang
Yes
nauna
po.
yata. Sige,
Yes.
sige, ikaw na lang.
Inductive siya sir kay from specific po to general kay gihatag man niya daan ang value ni x, and then sa second na equation is gigamit na niya si x po na naghatag na pud siya og kanang result po.
Do you agree with the answer of Miss Batukan? Inductive po ba siya? If x is equal to 5,
Yes,
then
sir.
2x is equal to 10. So you can treat that one as kaning x is equal to 5, i-treat nimo siya as
Ay, ah,
specific, tapos nag-generalize na kag
Specific,
2x
sir.
equals 10. Because it's actually the other way.
oh,
General statement meaning if x is equal to 5, so you are now setting the rule that the value of x is equal to 5. This time, you are trying to get another expression, tapos himuon nimo siya og ang x is equal to 5. So actually, ang rule ani kay x is equal to 5, the rule or the general statement. Then naghimo kag another one, how about himuon ako siyang 2x? So since x is equal to 5, so I will now put x there is a 2 times 5, so 2 times 5 is equal to 10. So it's actually general to specific. So para ma-clear sa tanan ha, is actually general statement to specific. So what should be the correct answer? General
yeah.
is actually deductive reasoning. Pero it's okay because this is
Thank you
just the
sir.
first example. This
Yes
is
sir,
just the
thank
first
you po.
example, pero it's okay, Miss Batukan. Kaya pwede man po siya mabaliktad ang imuhang reasoning, no?
Yes
Pero at
po.
least na-correct nato siya. It's actually deductive reasoning. Okay, nakuha ni Miss Namok and also Fonoliera. So kung nain-aning ang mga statement na inyong mabasa, not only in our examination but in other textbooks, especially if you're reading math, is actually deductive reasoning, which is more reliable than the inductive reasoning. I hope na kuha tanan. We still have number 7. Kaya para makumpleto nato ang lesson. Number 7, if you would like to answer, again, you raise your hand. So far, si Miss Batukan, ang pinakadaghan og recitation sa iyahang oral recitation, while the others, you still have your participation recorded ni siya diri sa ato ang chat box. Would like to answer the 7th example. If you brush your teeth daily, you will have fewer cavities. Marie brushes her teeth daily, then she will have fewer cavities. What kind of reasoning is that? So na po yung nag-answer mga deductive. Deductive. Why deductive? Nag-start ba sa general statement? If you brush your teeth, you will have fewer cavities. Siguro nabasa din siya ng statement sa health magazine, ana. It can be a general statement. Now, here comes Marie. Nagkuha na siya example. So, this is now the specific. Daily ni si Marie nag-brush og teeth. So, you can now conclude that she will have fewer cavities. So, that line of reasoning from general to specific is deductive. So, you got the correct answer. How about number 8? Who would like to answer that?
Deductive po, sir.
Miss Katipunan, yes, you are acknowledged. Why deductive?
Because the statement po, sir, is starting, ano po, sir,
Mm-mm.
generalized, and it concludes with specific na po, sir.
Very good. So, are you learning na, di ba? Sa daghang examples nga nakita nato, I know na hone inyong skills in identifying if that is deductive or inductive. Correct, Miss Katipunan. General statement, no man has ever gotten pregnant. Then you have the conclusion, the specific one, Mario will never get pregnant unless kaning Mario babae, Mario lang yung pangalan. Pero this is deductive. Very good. How about number 9? Number 7, na-answer na ganina, di ba, deductive? We are now on the second to the last example. Earthquakes usually precede the volcano eruption. Thus, earthquakes cause volcano to erupt.
Um, inductive
Yes,
po.
inductive, the answer of Miss Carriedo Shello. Why inductive Shello?
For me po, ang gigamit niya nga specific context clue is the earthquake, which is why she made a generalization that earthquakes cause volcano to erupt po.
Very good. That is correct. Kaning earthquakes usually precede kay nakahimo siya inaani nga statement usually, di ba? Kay naa siya yung mga usual experiences and these are the specifics. Because of that experience nga hala kada linog kani naay ka ng kuan, naay volcano eruption nga mahitabo. So nakahimo siya statement karon, this is now the general statement. Earthquakes cause volcano eruption. So since the pattern is from the specific to general, so the answer is inductive. Aside from shallow, kinsa ba na naka-answer diri sa chat box? Okay. Most of you answered inductive reasoning also. So I think clear na siya. Let's have the last one. I think this is easy for you. Another answer from K.
Inductive po, sir.
I miss si Razoma. Yes, Razoma, you are actually heard. Dili si K akong na ano do,
Inductive
si
po, sir.
Adore. Inductive. Why inductive?
So, sa first statement po is specific na kayo. Kaya specific niya ang name nga si si Rufus
Rufus.
and Rose. So,
Mm.
came back to beach with Sandberg. And the general statement po is that during that day is sunny po.
So that
day
makes it,
Sunburn po.
so the last statement is
Inductive
the
reasoning.
general statement. So that makes it
Yes po, sir.
inductive. Thank you so much, Mr.
Inductive reasoning.
Razoma. So clear ba ang atong lesson karon? Have you learned
Yes,
something
sir.
about inductive and deductive? That's part of logic. So if you are major in mathematics, this is actually a very good foundation for you to understand deeply mga logical statements in math. Kaya daghan ba tayong mga theorems, mga axioms, corollary, conjectures, all of these statements, ang ginagamit magud ani is reasoning. So if you are studying logic in math, kaya ninyo kayo are already familiar with these kinds of reasoning. So with that, I would like to end our discussion for tonight. So tomorrow is our asynchronous. I am expecting all your ideas about the different examples. So mag-check ko sa Quipper messages sa inyong mga colorful ideas. I would like to see different examples. Pwede siya inductive inyong ihatag, pwede po deductive. So pwede isa lang inyong ihatag kay para tanan po mabasa jud ang mga answers. So is it okay?
Yes po, sir.
I see Shello. Yes, Shello. Nalagi kay gi-chat. Thank you for your response.
Ay, thought lang po. Kanang, about sa topic po.
Yes, sir, Shello. What is your question?
Usay mo good sir kay sa reasonings kay medyo confusing siya to
Mm-mm.
decipher if deductive ba siya or inductive. So, ang
Mm.
reasoning mo good sir para sa ako kay mura siya cause and effect gani sir or kanang
That's good.
so can we maybe automatically expect nga ang effect is mo na siya ang specific po
Ang effect mo na siya ang specific nga
or like
kuan.
ang answer given nga ano po.
So kung
evidence.
i-pattern mo siya sa katong ang tawag mo na siya causal relationship, na siya cause, na siya effect. So usually ang katong effect nga imuhang gina-produce is part na siya sa conclusion na imuhang gihatag based sa katong causes nimo. So pwede siya himuon nimo as basis in ana siya. Cause and effect, the effect is your conclusion or general statement. Pero again, dili na siya pwede nimo i-generalize pod kay as you can see sa 10 examples nato, na ay katong nabaliktad, di ba? Just like katong x is equal to 5, then 2x equals to 10. So na misinterpret nato. So it really needs to have a lot of comprehension when you are reading the statements. I hope that helps.
Crystal clear
Sir,
po. Thank
pwede
you.
Thank you so much, Shello. Kirsten, your turn
Sir,
right.
Pwede mag-raise question, sir.
Yes, we are now on the question and answer part.
Kwan, sir, ka na. Can we tell, sir, na ang statement, sir, is inductive or deductive at a glance po, sir? Example, sir, na given na statement, then
So
wala
you're
siya
talking about at a glance, jud siya ha?
Yes po, sir.
So
Yes po,
siguro
sir.
if you are already an expert about this one, if you are really exposed to the kind of reasoning, dali ra kay siya at a glance. Pero at our level, especially kamo, you really need to understand kato siya. You need to decipher unsa ni siya, specific
Na,
statement ni siya. So right then diha pa nimo siya mahatagaan og answer, deductive ba siya or inductive. So it's possible through practice, Mr. Castro.
kanang na siya is kwan, sir, if ever, sir, ang statement, sir, is wala siya nag-follow og syllogism na format, sir.
O just like in our examples, di ba, na ay mga statements dito nga wala nag-follow og syllogism. So na kailangan jud siya og comprehension jud nimo. Pero again, kung kaya na jud nimo kay daghan na kag mga experiences about ana, so isa lang nimo katanaw maansiran dayon na nimo. Pero again, it really needs a lot of practice for you to do that.
Okay po, sir.
Okay. Is that clear, Mr. Casio? I hope I answered the question. Okay, wala
Yes,
ni
sir.
siya kaning magic ha nga diretso dayon, especially that we are all from different backgrounds and from different majors pa jud. And we have different learning styles, take note. So dili ta pwede mag-impose nga hala dapat kani matun-an dayon na at paspas jud dayon imong answer. So ang uban siguro karon naga-process pa, ang uban is na siya siguro sa level 10 na ilang understanding, but we cannot really generalize nga tanan nakasabot na. It takes a lot of effort and practice just like in any other topics. Mahon lang jud nimo imong skill kung balik-balik ka naga-practice ana. How about si Umasdang? You are actually raising your hand. So Miss Namok also na po siya effect and effect. Yes, ang inductive kay walay syllogism, true po. Okay. Thank you for the insights. Do we have more questions pa before we end our session for tonight? So I would like to congratulate everyone. Successful ang ato ang meeting karon. Wala na nga guba ang ato mga connection even though na ay mga challenges sa rain, na pa mga gipang baha. Napag ko gi-record man ni nako siya so pwede na ko i-post sa Quipper kay para katong mga nag-brown out or unsa bay nang hitabo, they can still have the chance to know kung unsa tong gipang discuss diri. So choppy na daw according to Daryl. So maybe that's the signal for us to end this one. Thank you so much. Stay safe everyone and see you on Friday.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Goodbye.
Sir, goodbye.
Ito po, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hoy, siyan, mata na!